let's be honest, the hobby doesn't feel the same anymore. Something about collecting in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s was just, I guess you could say, magical. It wasn't about the slabs or the comps, it was about packs at the corner store, trading with friends, and even getting hyped about a base card of your favorite player. Today, I'm breaking down why the era was so special, what we've lost, and if we'll ever get it back. I still remember pulling a Ken Griffey Jr., a Bo Jackson, a Michael Jordan, a Wayne Gretzky, from a pack that maybe my dad got me at the gas station or like the corner store, wherever that was. There was no camera, there was no resale plans. It was just pure joy. And I understand that the hobby is a lot bigger now, a lot more variation between packs, a lot more variation even inside the packs with different parallels and inserts and numbers and autos and all that stuff. But is it really better? Is it better back in the 90s and 80s and 70s than it is now? So we're going to go through the points about why it's better, why maybe not as good, and so on and so forth. So if you want to stay tuned, take a trip down memory lane with me from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Okay, if you're 30 years old now, or 40, or 50, or 60, and you used to open these packs up, stop this video now. Let us know where you used to go. Where was your main place to go when you were a kid? Was it a corner store? Was it a gas station? Was it trading with friends and things like that? I want to hear all your stories. This is the exact reason why I'm doing this, right? I'm doing this because I want to get a great community, and I want you guys to share stories as I share stories with you. Obviously, most of you are more experienced than I was, right? I took a 20-year hiatus, and I was a big collector when I was a kid, and then I went to college and got my first job. Didn't collect too much. Now I'm back into it, right? So I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what you guys did when you were a kid, when you went to grade school and you were trading with your friends and things like that. And the first thing is that I kind of wrote down was why the hobby felt so pure back then. So why did the hobby feel so pure back then? This was before YouTube. Obviously, YouTube you're watching now, right? Before grading, before flipping. We collected, at least I collected, and I'm sure you're the same way because all the comments that you guys say when you are watching these videos and things like that. And we appreciate you guys commenting. We appreciate you guys watching videos. And we just love reading all your comments and getting back to each and every one of you. And we collected when, we were kids, and we collected because it was fun. I watched Michael Jordan, score as many points and break the record. And then I want to go back and try to find his card. I saw Wayne Gretzky, had the most points in the entire history of NHL, and I want to go back and pull his card and things like that. And local cars you might live around. We used to live, in Myrtle Beach and Philadelphia and Vermont and like all different kind of little places that you used to live. What were the favorite players around those areas? And, you know, favorite players, they meant more than value. Like value, I didn't really care about value at all. Obviously, we didn't really know much about value when we were in grade school, but even in high school and things like that, I didn't care about value. I could care less. And I wanted to get like that Bo Jackson card. I wanted to get that Ken Griffey card. I wanted to get that Lindros card or whatever that could be, and try to find as many as I could, for my collection. And I could show off to my friends. Oh, look at all these collections I have. And you bring your book into school and things like that. You would trade. Many times I've traded for like a $5 card for a dollar card because I wanted that dollar card, or I wanted that $5 card for a dollar, and I didn't know how much they were, but it was the main thing was like just getting that card and having fun and building that camaraderie with friends and things like that. I mean, there was a big emotional connection to cards where I really think we're missing out now around this time, right? You have breakers. You're not even opening up your own packs. You're watching people on the internet. I mean, obviously you're watching me on the internet, and it's different, right? I'm just talking about these things and not opening up any packs. But you're watching breakers and you're into their break, and it is very exciting. I watch breaks and things like that, but it's watching breaks and then they're opening it for you, and you're missing that personal collection with that card. Yeah, you get the card. Yeah, you had the breaks, and yeah, I guess maybe you're not missing the connection, but it's a different connection than what we used to have when we were just ripping packs and things like that. Now, why aren't people ripping packs? Because blaster boxes, mega boxes, hobby boxes, they're so expensive now that the normal person can't afford these things. And if they can, they're getting one every month or whatever that could be. And you're not finding much if you're getting one box unless you're really, really lucky in a big area. But the emotional connection was so important when we were kids and you watched that person on TV and you wanted to get that person's card. So, I mean, that was a big thing with favorite teams, players, and stuff like that. I mean, I've had, and all my friends the same way in grade school and middle school and high school, we had just shoe boxes and binders and all the stuff of wax, right? And I didn't care about the condition. I can care less. That's why all my hockey cards and baseball cards aren't worth anything now, because I didn't care about condition. I just cared about what cards I got, and I put them in a certain part. I didn't even know about sleeves and things like that when I was back in the 80s. So, I mean, I just kind of threw them in a shoebox, and all my friends did the same exact thing, and friends from other towns did the same exact thing. So I'm sure this was happening all over the country as well. It was a kid's hobby. Like my dad didn't collect cards; he would just collect cards for me and things like that. I mean, it was a kid's hobby, and we went to the baseball game. We would get a pack of cards, or went to the football game, or whatever that could be, and we get a pack of cards, and we didn't think anything of a financial market. We just thought that this was great. We wanted to collect cards, and we can build up our collection. That was like the main thing. That was our main goal when I was a kid, and I feel somewhere along the last 20 years that we have lost that, and it's unfortunate because when I'm me looking back, because I'm 44 or 43 now, going to be 44. And me looking back, it's like, will my kids have that same personal collection or that personal, nostalgia looking back? And that's what I'm trying to do as a father is like, okay, look at this pack that we got. No matter what you get, these are pretty cool cards. You want to get you want to get an Ohtani base card or a Harper base card or whatever that could be. And that's just great in itself, getting that stuff. And I'm trying to teach that to my kids, not just going after the Paul Skeens 101 or the Wemby auto or whatever that could be. And I'm just trying to teach that into them because that helps them understand the cards, helps them understand the market, but it also puts fun into it and not just like going after money, 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 money. So like nobody was scanning barcodes. Nobody was, measuring the weight of boxes, and things like that when we were kids. I don't even know if we even had blaster boxes when we were kids. They were all just packs and things like that. So that was a pretty important thing looking back on why the hobby just felt so pure back then. The second thing I kind of wanted to title out was local card shops and the community. Like your local card shop was not just like a store. It was like the spot to be. Like after school, like my son always goes like to like a pizza place after school on every Friday and things like that. Like every Friday we used to go to the local card shop and we would go to the local card shop with all our friends, 5, 7, 10 of our friends, and go to the card shop, see what they had new, what were the great things they had. And then usually sometimes even the store owner, because it was only him just running the entire store every day, they knew you, they knew who you liked, what kind of packs you like and things like that. And they would set things aside for you. Just, when you come in, you can get them, or they would even set just base cards aside for you and give them to you, which is a pretty cool thing. I know some card shops do that, but with these big main card shops, we have just gotten away from that, just like that, not just being a store anymore. You're being like the spot to be. And that's where the spot was to hang out. And if you had a store like that, let us know in the comments what you guys think as well. I mean, walking into the shop, smelling the packs, it was a great time. And I can still smell like when I open up 80s and 90s cards, that just brings me right back to like that walking into that local card shop. And that was just an awesome thing. Looking at all the wax, all the binders lined up, the bobbleheads, all that cool stuff. And it wasn't just cards; it was like paintball guns and paintball stuff that we would get and play, and we would get the air filled there for the paintballs and find the paintballs, and maybe get some of the things there too, masks. So it was like it wasn't just a card store; it was like a variation of just different things, and that was like the main hangout. And they had like trade days, dollar boxes. They had like. You walk in there and you feel welcome. Obviously, the more you visit a store, the more welcome you feel, right? And the more they know you. And it just seems like today you walk in the stores and it's like they're cool people and we talk to them and all this stuff, right? But it just feels different. It just feels different than it was back in the day. And I'm not sure if you feel that same way, but we go into card shops a lot. But I mean, having retail Walmart, Target, all these bigger places that these people get cards from, a lot of people don't even visit card shops anymore. So I mean, it's a shame that they're they're spread out so thin with these different things. But you know, the next section was like simpler joys I wrote down and affordable packs and things like that. Like you would you need a paycheck to rip. You know what I'm saying? You didn't need like packs were affordable. You didn't need 100, $1,000 to go in and buy a hobby box. Packs were $1, $2, and you can get a good amount of packs, and that was like our lunch money. We would save from, like, mom and dad would give us lunch money. We wouldn't need lunch. We would go bring good packs. We would save it, and things like that just brought pure joy and excitement, and it was just exciting to go in there and do that. I still get excited to go in like the Walmart and Target with my kids and the car shops that we visit around my area and stuff too. But and I'm sure they get the same way. This is the first time they're going to the card shops, and I'm sure they're building that nostalgia factor too. But it's a little bit different. It's different than it was when we were kids. Packs were $1 to $3, and maybe mom would throw in one with the groceries. If you got them at like a Kroger or a ShopRite or a Super Fresh. When we were in the Northeast, I was a little bit older, right? There was no fear of missing out. It didn't feel like that at all. It was just a couple cards, maybe some gum in the pack, and a hologram if you were lucky. And we always searched for like the 1990, I think it was 3 or 1990. It was 1990 NHL, and there was a NHL like hologram Stanley Cup, and we were always searching for that card. It wasn't a lot of money, but we always wanted the NHL card and things like that, and the Stanley Cup card. And like there was so much excitement pulling an insert, and even if the insert was like 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever that could be, and I feel like all the cards back then were like 75 cents. If you had like a $2 or $3 card, that was a lot. It just felt like. So it's different now when you're pulling $25 cards or $30 cards. It's just a little bit different now, that the money aspect. And that's what I'm trying to teach my kids as they grow up. How much did you spend on this blaster box? Okay, well, did you get, how much money are these cards worth? You put them in the slab and things like that. And then, you save them in your collection. You put different cards in different spots in your collection. Just trying to teach them the right way, but also at the same time, just building that community, building that fun, that excitement for cards, and not really like a gambling kind of deal like that, because there's a lot of things that are gambling now with cards. It feels like gambling a lot, so I'm trying to stay away from that and trying to teach them kind of the right way. But, so what changed? So what changed over the last 20, 25, 30 years? What changed was the hobby blew up, right? Not all of it was for the better. So you had this great, like, even in like the late 2000s, you had an explosion for the hobby, and then COVID just made, just crazy, right? And we're kind of coming down off that a little bit. And, the rising of grading companies, you have, PSA, BGS, all the other grading companies, they introduced more value into like our obsession over condition. So now you have these grading companies that are giving you a grade for a card, and the card, if it's all bent up quarters, is not worth anything. So that kind of put the mindset on keeping these things that can. I've watched people open up on Instagram, TikTok, and their kids are doing with them, and they're going like, okay, hold this card, you can't do it. Okay, let me do it, and like the parents are doing that. And it's like, what's the deal with cards and stuff like that? So what are they doing? So YouTube content influencers, all these different things, they help the hobby grow, but also they made it kind of louder, faster, flashier, things like that. And they change how people, they view unopened products, and they kind of change it a big time. Even licensing changes, Panini, Fanatics, the consolidation and corporate shifts, they all change things too, right? And the language of the hobby shifted. Before I started, right? Now it's ROI, pop report, liquidity, and all that stuff. It changed so much compared to what it was when I was a kid, and I'm sure it will change over the next 20 years as well. So there are still some great people, and there's great energy. There's a lot of energy, but it's very, very hard. It's very, very hard to find that casual, that no pressure joy where a lot of you comment on. But a lot of you do comment on, and you're like me, and it's like, looking back on how's the hobby changing and things like that. And I appreciate you guys talking, and some of you are new to the hobby and you're trying to get into it, and there's a lot of variation. You get overwhelmed very, very fast. And it's just like you have to just kind of take a step back and just see what's going on and see what you can afford and seeing what is very good for you to do in the long run, right? So collectors used to ask, when we were collecting, right? Like, who'd you get? Now it's like what it's worth. So that's how it kind of changed big time. It's like, who'd you get? Did you get Bo Jackson? Did you get Ken Griffey Jr.? Now they're like, okay, how much that card's worth? How much is that Ellie De La Cruz card worth? How much is that Paul Skeens, one-on-one worth? Well, $1.1 million. Awesome, right? So it changed big time. And the main thing is, can we ever get that feeling back, right? Has the market changed? But the soul of the hobby, I think it's still there. And I believe it's still there. And how can we get that back? How can we recreate the vibe that we used to have when we were kids, right? So a lot of local card shops, they have like trade nights, which is a great thing. A lot of schools too. But, sharing, collecting with your kids, that's like a big thing to do. Collecting for teams and PCs and childhood favorites and no comps, right? That's such a big thing to do when you're shopping top, like, dollar boxes, avoiding the hype machine. These are like main things that you maybe can get that feeling back on, back in the 80s and nostalgia and things like that. Because nostalgia content like this video is proof that the heart of the hobby is still there. I mean, I wouldn't be making these videos if I didn't have nostalgia, right? And you guys wouldn't be commenting on these videos if you didn't have nostalgia and looking back and wishing it should have been this or wishing it should have been that. And maybe we can get back to that. Even though we are pretty good, maybe we can get back to that. But you don't need a $1.1 million Paul Skeens card, right, to love this hobby, right? You just need a memory, a connection, and even a story behind that piece of cardboard. So that's like the main thing I wanted to get to you guys so you can understand what's going on. So in the comments, let me know what you guys think. What was your golden era? What card takes, I guess you can say, takes you back to your golden era? If you were to pull that now, what would take you back to all those memories and flooding in your head? This hobby has changed a lot, right? But I think we can bring it back to the parts that made it great, and one trade, maybe even one story, or even one binder at a time, or one binder page at a time. We appreciate you guys watching, and let us know in the comments what you guys think. And again, make sure that you subscribe and let us know again in the comments. Always comment your nostalgia part, what was your favorite part, things like that. And again, we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.